Hey guys, let's talk about the two things today that will really contribute to design style. Now, if you ever listened to me, especially 2 years ago on this podcast, I think I said that style is not important, and I still feel that way. I think a good designer can manipulate and do a lot of different styles, okay? But I also realized, when I said that lots of people, they want to showcase a style. Very often on social media, people are showcasing a style. And so I think there's this overall feeling of I should have a style, okay? So let's first address that. First of all, you have a style. It already manifests itself. You don't even realize it, okay? Whatever you're already doing, it comes from you. You are unique, and the way you're doing things, it is going to showcase that way, all right? So just know you already have a style. Even if you can't identify it, very often I can identify it. I'll be doing a mentor workshop with my designers, and I'll be going through, and they'll be like, well, I don't know, I use totally different colors. I was like, doesn't matter. I can still tell it's yours. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, there's just a feeling in the tone, the way you draw your lines, the way you use line, the way you use shape. Most people have a definitive look. And most of the time, all we're trying to do is up level that look, okay? So just so you know, you probably already have a personal style. Okay, so if you're worried about personal style, know that. Okay, so let's talk about two things that it's going to help your personal style if you are trying to develop it. And then let's talk about after that, what you should expect of yourself in terms of styling in general, okay? So the first one is time. You guys, time, as long as you're putting the effort in, right? So if you're designing every day or designing at least every week, then you are putting the time in. And so over a long period of time, your style will develop. It just does. It cannot help itself. It's going to develop because there are certain things you're going to gravitate to. There's certain shapes and doodles that you will always make. Let me give you an example, okay? So many of you probably doodle when you're doing something or listening to something, okay? For me, that's church, okay? So at church, I'm sitting and I'm doodling in my book or wherever. On the side of the program, when you're a kid, and you don't have any paper, but you manage to get a pencil from your mom and you're doodling on the side of the program or whatever that you've got in your hands, okay? Notice that very often you doodle the same things over and over and over again. That is everybody, okay? Sometimes we come up with new stuff, but very often we doodle the same things over and over again. For me, it was flowers, vines, and leaves, all the time. Flowers, vines, and leaves, okay? My little sister had this little girl she would draw that always had a huge ball gown. It was hilarious, and their eyes were really big. We draw the same things over and over and over again. And I see this with my kids now as they are drawing and doing certain things. So I promise you have a style that is in development over time. And as you learn new things in the software, you're going to see that your style will change with it as you become better and better and better, okay? The second thing that's going to help in style development is mentorship. I don't know any way. People always ask me, I don't know how to get mentorship. You have to join a program or you need to go back to college, okay? Because you need mentorship to get better. If you have joined some kind of online course out there where they just give you the coursework, I think that's great. You're going to learn a lot from it, but you're not getting mentorship. Why? It's the most expensive thing to get because there are very few programs that do it. Our program does that. I know of a couple of other programs that do it, okay? Or you have to go back to school to do it, right? So you've got to go get a professor to look at your work and help you up level. These are ways we get mentorship. Now, why is mentorship so important? Because the key to getting better at anything is having an individual look at your stuff, right? It's that personal, how are you going to know that you have a weird space between your lines of quotes unless you have another set of eyes look at it, someone who's professional who knows how to do it? You're not going to make it better. And so then you keep making that thing over and over again with that same weird space in it. So the only way to get better is to have someone else look at your work and be like, hey, did you notice you always have this weird space right here between your elements? Oh, I hadn't really noticed that. Yeah, it's because most of us need help in our design work. And this whole idea that we can just do it self-taught, I think the internet has made it really, really terrible because there have been so many people who are like, I'm self-taught and I make hundreds of thousands of dollars, or I make $60,000. That's usually what I hear. $60,000 or $80,000. And It's like nonsense, you guys. Like, if you want to make money doing something, you do need some help changing the way you draw, changing the way you do something. And by the way, if you haven't been in graphic design school for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, you need an update because graphic design school has changed. 20 years ago, I taught graphic design. All right. The principles remain the same. They really do. Software has changed. The way we think about design has changed. The way we do things digitally has changed. Like everything has changed. And the software is a good portion of that. And now we have AI on top of it, which we address in our program, but we don't address outside of our program because AI has to be dealt with very specifically. Okay. So if you're trying to develop style on your own, just know it's difficult. You're not going to make changes to your own work. You're not going to be, it really does take another set of eyes critiquing. Now, maybe you're sending your stuff in somewhere, and this happened to me, you guys. When I was at Northcott, and Ro Greg was my creative director there at the time, that was the first fabric contract I ever gotten. I got it after I had a digital scrapbooking deal, and I had a scrapbooking deal, okay? So it was like the third contract I had ever gotten that was like a big contract, okay? Before that, I had done freelance deals and all of that. But I remember like sending my stuff in, and that's where I was getting the critiques. And maybe the information would come back like, no pink. That is hard, you guys. Like when you get a critique that's like, no pink. And you're like, this whole line is pink. Okay, so what do I change it to? And they're like, I don't know. Figure it out, right? At least I know no pink, right? And so you got to make changes that are going to be smart changes, but you got to do it with a little bit of mentorship. And you can have that through professors, through program, through internships. If you can get an internship, by the way, don't DM me for an internship, which I get a lot of those. We don't do internships. But maybe there's some graphic designer out there that's willing to look at your work. And then creative directors. CEOs, like those can be very helpful as well. All right. Okay. So development of style, two things, time, mentorship. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about that I kind of alluded to at the end is to really pay attention to pivoting your style. Sometimes we get really caught up with this is our look. This is it. And the thing that maybe even pushes us forward is that we have this particular style and it like gets lots of views and maybe we get a few sales on it, but then we don't realize that that same style is the thing holding us back from becoming better because we feel like, oh, we only do this. Like, for example, I do a lot of flowers. And if I always said to myself, I only do flowers, that would have held me back from a lot of the sales that I make in other areas that a lot of people don't realize I design in. Okay. And so that's why I am telling you to be okay with developing and pushing yourself to get to that next level. You don't know what your next level is. Okay. And getting stuck in a particular style because you're like, I'm only known for this. That can hurt you. It really can. It keeps a lot of designers stuck. I will say over the 15.5 years that I have been doing this, I think that's 15 and a half years. Yeah. A little bit longer than that. I will say that my style has pivoted and changed multiple times, like sometimes every year if necessary, because I'm going to do what it takes to survive and make money as a designer. Most designers don't think like that. They think I need to develop this personal style for myself and it's going to be great and I'm going to do well and I'm going to make money from it. And really you need to have a mindset of this world changes, the online space changes, manufacturers change, and they're all worried about their bottom line as well, just like you're worried about your bottom line. And so you've got to change your thinking and start thinking very carefully about like what you need to do to up level to be a great designer, not just a great fabric designer or not just a great SVG designer or not just a great printable designer. That will only get you so far. The best designers I know, the ones who make multiple six figures or at least over six figures, over $100,000 a year, they do multiple things and they pivot because they're smart. Okay. So don't get too stuck on style. Pay attention to those two things. Are you getting mentorship? Okay. Are you getting help? are you giving it the time? Okay. Because those of you who are frustrated after 3 months because your design style isn't what you want it to be, you haven't put in the time. 3 months isn't long enough, you guys. It just isn't. All right. Okay. I hope this helped you guys today. I hope that you are developing a style, but I also hope that you're really open to what you can accomplish and what you can design. So happy to have you guys here. By the way, if you have been hanging out with me for a while and you have not come to a design boot camp, oh my gosh, come to a design boot camp. It is the thing that's going to help you get started. We keep it really low at $27. It's right now $27. We've talked about raising the prices, so you might see that in the future if you're listening to this episode. But even then, we still keep it really, really inexpensive for what it is. We give you 2 frameworks, really great frameworks for getting started. I tell you about residual income and how I did it, tell you exactly how I got started, and you would benefit so much from understanding how the industry really is. Most people are not open to what really happens in this industry, and Design Bootcamp is the first step into it. We've made it really inexpensive so that you can kind of get going, take a few steps forward. Okay. You can find that at carinagardnercourses.com/design bootcamp. I hope you have a chance to check it out, and I will see you guys soon. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.